Hello, and thank you so much for joining me here for another video. Today I have another channeled speed paint that I'm really excited to share with you, as this time I had, I guess you could say, a client that I was able to channel for. So me and my friend Brian from Oracle of Avalon decided we would exchange services. So he did a beautiful, very potent reading for me, and I decided to do a channeled message and channeled painting for him in exchange. So I'll take you through a bit of the process of how I did that. So basically, I always set up a sacred space. I call in my protective guides, I ground in with Gaia, I call on Source as well to set the frequency, and then I call in the guides of whoever I'm working with, as well as my own, and on their behalf ask whatever question it is that they would want guidance for. In my friend Brian's case, he wanted to know how he can best raise his own frequency and the frequency of Earth and the collective. Immediately, when I was trying to set up the sacred space, it's almost like his guides didn't let me do it before they started sending messages. I still set up the space, of course, but right when I called in Archangel Michael, I felt his presence a lot more than I usually do when I'm just calling him for my own channeling and my own, I guess, protection. But I see him and he's there, almost on guard a little bit, and I see myself covered in armor, and I like knight's armor, like knights in shining armor type of armor, and that usually doesn't happen for me, so I knew that had something to do with Brian, and it did. His message was so beautiful, and Brian was gracious enough to give me permission to do this, so Brian, if you're watching this, thank you. But yeah, let me share some of what I channeled. The first thing I saw was this round table, essentially, and a bunch of spiritual leaders, including Brian himself, around this table. And the vibe of it was very much like King Arthur, like the round table, a bunch of people coming together to work together for like the common good, like a common goal. And like we're all in this armor, and there's this sense of protection, but also like of community, of camaraderie, and it just made me feel really brave. And the message I got for this is the way Brian is supposed to uplift himself and also others is through embodying this protective force, like being a leader, but not a leader who is above anyone, but a leader who raises everyone up so that we are all equal participants. A very protective energy came through as well for him. Like, I got the message that for Brian, it's very like familiar and comfortable for his soul to be like a protector, to create a space where all of us spiritual leaders can come together and work together and support each other in a space that feels safe. For some reason, that was something that was really coming through, that Brian was supposed to be some kind of protector for us and for this space. So people can feel, it can be really like daunting to be a spiritual person and like go out into the world and be open about your woo-woo spirituality, but having a space where you feel safe and protected, even though your beliefs may be really, really, really crazy for a lot of people, is really important, and it's really so potent and magical that Brian is, I believe, supposed to provide that for people. I think that's so beautiful, and totally, from what I know of him, totally fits his vibe. So I just thought that was so cool. I loved seeing, and again, the feeling of being brave, of camaraderie, it really felt like being one of Arthur's knights. It was so powerful. I also got that this helps raise the Earth's frequency, but also his own. Like when he's fulfilling this role and with other spiritual leaders, and we're all working together as equals, that raises his frequency as well and can help like maybe counteract any lower frequencies he might encounter with other people in his life or anything like that. It really helps balance things out for him, is what I got from that as well. And I feel like that could apply to a lot of people too. Like, being able to find community like that is a really, really special experience, and being able to provide that for others is so divine, and I think is so integral to, you know, his purpose here on this planet. And Brian, I think you're very magical. Good job. For the design that I was going for, I knew he needed a sword and a shield, because when I was channeling, I kept seeing those two symbols, and not just a shield for some reason, but a sword as well, which is a little more, I guess, aggressive of a protective measure, or protection, but for some reason I felt like it was important and it needed to be there. So I knew I had to show a figure kind of representing Brian with both a sword and a shield to show that protective essence and that protective quality that is so unique and integral to Brian's soul. As you'll see through the speed paint, I do change my mind a little bit about what I'm doing. I did start with the black background, which is pretty classic for my art, but I was kind of feeling out the composition as I was making it, and what you see here does change a lot, but basically I'm just setting out the base for a sword and a shield and trying to play around with colors and different brush strokes to see what feels right and what looks right. I do end up changing a lot of what's going on here in the piece, but it all felt really divine, and it was really fun to like play with the piece and think about this reading. And you know, even I'm channeling while I'm painting as well, like I'm still open, there's still a sacred space. So if you're someone who's a channeled painter or wants to be a channeled painter, know that like it's totally okay to like play with your paintings and to change things and reorder them, recolor them. It's all a part of the process. It's not yet finished here, not yet started, but I do kind of have the base for what I want to represent. Alchemical flames at the base, just representing Brian's absolutely like magical essence and power, and like that alchemical magic where you can turn things into gold, really. Another cool synchronicity, I guess, in this reading was when I channeled, Archangel Michael came in strong, indicating that he would like to help or be involved with the protection of the space, I assume. And he was really the only one I saw in terms of guides. The rest were just symbols and messages from Brian's team in general. But when I decided at the end of the reading to pull just 2 cards, I said out loud, I just want 2 cards, and I shuffled an oracle deck, and then boom, out flies 2 cards, 2 cards perfectly, flying out of the deck. And one of the cards was, I think, like hope and acceptance, and the other was Archangel Michael, of course, which I thought was so magical, because that card, for me, it usually doesn't come out, just in general with readings I do for other people and readings for myself. Archangel Michael doesn't necessarily always feel the need to be a part of that, but when he does, he always flings his card out of the deck. It always pops out like very powerfully, like he's pulling it out of the deck and just throwing it on the ground. So it's always fun to see him do that. Really good to know that he's supporting Brian on this as well. Another really, really beautiful thing about Brian's reading too was I was trying to channel a little more about how does Brian raise his frequency, the frequencies of others, what does he do? And in my mind's eye, in my psychic eye, I saw, I guess, an oracle card flash across my vision, which said, you're already doing it, which is so potent and magical and special, because he really is. He is doing this right now. I know from experience, and it's so good to see people I know who are very magical and have a great purpose on this planet, like really being in that role already. It's very cool. I'm very honored to have been able to do this reading in this painting. So as you can see here, I'm starting to change up the colors a little bit. I felt called to add like a little gas mask on the figure representing Brian. And for me initially, it was like usually a sign of the times, not in like a scary way of like there's going to be war and destruction, like in like a triggering fear-based way, but more just like a representation of like turbulent change that we are experiencing right now. But I was happy to hear when I shared this with Brian that he had his own meaning for it as well, that connected to his spirit. And that's another really beautiful thing about channeled paintings, is you don't always know what everything means when it comes out. Some things are for, I guess, your clients themselves to like feel out and connect to and be like, oh, I know exactly what that means. Even if maybe you didn't, but you felt called to put it there. It's really fun. It's really fun hearing that too. As you can see, I'm like changing. I'm talking to myself while I'm doing this too, I've noticed, watching this video, but I'm trying to change the shield. At first I wasn't sure what to do with the shield because I was trying to make it like a metal color, but I just felt like it wasn't supposed to be after I played with it a few times. And as we get further in the video, you'll see me starting to change it and really like finding, I guess, like the right expression of that shield. As you can see here, oh, oops, wow, what was that? As you can see here as well, I added these like little orbs in the background, and at first I wasn't sure what they were supposed to be about. I just assumed they were a sign of like a cosmic lineage of some kind, or just like the cosmic divinity of Brian's soul, but also like helpers in the subtle realms. So that's kind of what I stuck with in terms of explaining my piece, because that's what felt right. Here I am still trying to make the gray work, which, you know, looking at it now, it's not bad. It's just like, it's just not as cool, I think, as the final product. But once again, totally okay to play around, see what works, see what feels good, and change your mind, of course. I can't wait for you guys to see the final product as well. Also, while I was doing this piece, channeling it, I wanted to make sure. One thing I found a little difficult at the start was preserving Brian's frequency and the potent message for him, while also making sure that I could make something that looks good and was still consistent with my own style, because the way I see it is a collaboration between the messages from spirits, the frequency of your client, and your own frequency and artistic eye. So I feel like at the beginning kind of struggling to mesh all three of those things together. But it was overall a really, really good challenge, I would say. I really appreciate it, especially since the final product, for me, I think it looks really, really cool, and I was really happy with it. And yeah, just know that if you're interested in channeled paintings, making them yourself, it might take a little bit to develop that skill of blending in all these different frequencies you want together while still maintaining your own artistic style, but it's definitely really, really rewarding and really worth it. I added some halos here as well to show a divine connection at the top of this figure's head. And here I'll show you guys a better photo at the end of the video as always, but here I've really understood kind of what I wanted my composition to be, and I'm more or less finished here. Not perfectly finished, but I'm just kind of putting in last details and things of that nature. And I realized I needed these flames on either side because the red flames on the side of the shield represent darker forces and a darker energy, and the shield is blocking those out. And the dagger and the sword on the other side with the blue flames of light and divinity represent that any fight Brian may encounter or have to be involved in is only going to be fought with unconditional love, like that Christ consciousness. You probably won't be able to see it very well in the photo or in this video for sure, but I've also added little bits of gold as well, just because I like the accent of that gold, and it felt very royal, very king-like, very knight-like in a sense, so I have added it to certain parts of the piece, just a little bit. Unfortunately, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but just know that it's there and it looks cool in the light. But yeah, over here I'm just trying to finish the final details, and yeah, that's about it for the video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope this has meant something for you. Brian, I hope you enjoyed it as well. I look forward to doing, at some point, another reading with you. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for joining me here for another video. Let me know what other kinds of videos you would want to see from me, or any topics you would like me to cover, talk about, engage with you with, and yeah, also let me know if anyone would be interested in getting maybe their own channeled painting. I don't have a website yet, but I'm thinking of maybe setting that up soon, in case anyone would like to purchase a channeled reading / painting or any other kind of service. If you guys want to talk about that, I'm totally open. But other than that, thank you so much for connecting with me, for being here and being on this planet at this time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.